Haven't done a fragrance review in a while, so I'll do a couple, I guess. I'll do Tom Ford's Lost Cherry. I'm really late to the party, and I'll do MFK's Gentle Fluidity, the gold one. I'll just do those two because I actually kind of like how they smell. So how would I say that the Gentle Fluidity gold version smells? I would say it kind of smells like something kind of like a cross between a soap with kind of like imagine like a soap with some like golden marshmallow sprinkles in it almost after like washing your hands with like kind of like a soap or a feminine I do think it smells kind of feminine, not unwearable as a man, but almost kind of like a soap or a body lotion or something with some kind of like golden sparkly marshmallows in it or something that leave it on your hand, or say something almost kind of like a champagne or something, or a drink, because there's almost like a crispness, like a fruity, almost kind of Christmas crispness to it. Imagine so like maybe like a champagne, and like so like these sparkly, bubbly marshmallows are popping on it. Golden sparkly marshmallows are popping on it and leaving a little bit of like foam on the glass or something like that. Some kind of mix between that, and you can smell kind of like a warm wood in the background, right? It was definitely more, there's definitely a bit more of a gourmand, almost kind of touch to it, sweetness aspect than I wasn't anticipating it to be as sweet as it was. Doesn't bother me because I like sweet scents, but so after that though, again, I've seen people say this in reviews too. I actually do agree. It does kind of have like a, excuse me, sorry, just ate dinner a little bit ago, but it does have kind of like a Montal kind of base or something like that. And some people say Intense Cafe. I can actually kind of see that, almost kind of like a mix of Intense Cafe or some kind of Montal kind of smell with almost some kind of mix of, say, by Killian's Love or something like that. Some kind of mix of that. So that's how I would describe this scent. Performance is fine for what it is. Nothing beast mode or anything. I thought it smelled good. I do think it smells feminine, but nothing. I've seen some people say that it smells kind of cheap, and I can see that as well, and or synthetic. I think that's probably the Montalness of it, maybe. I know Montals can be kind of potentially synthetic kind of smelling. It does have a bit of that kind of tinge to it, maybe, or maybe it's just not very interesting to people. I will agree, it's not super interesting, but good smell is a good smell. I thought it was fine. I mean, maybe I'll get a decant of it someday, not going out of my way to get it, but I think it's a fine smell. I like it better than the other one. And then I'll do Tom Ford's Lost Cherry. Again, very late to the party. I don't know if I could describe this one that interesting. It's definitely because cherry. There's a lot of people or a lot of different ways you can think of as a cherry, right? There's like a cherry starburst, right? Or just kind of like a cherry, some kind of this cherry candy, or there's like a cherry, those so long since I've eaten candy, dude. What the fuck? These like cherry, those gummy kind of those fish cherry gum. They're like different kind of cherry smells, but this is definitely a black kind of cherry smell. It's a kind of cherry smell that you smell and kind of like if you were to go to like one of those candle shops, like a Bath and Body or a what are those candle shops? There's like another candle shop that's cliche at the mall. Anyway, imagine you go smell like that black cherry candle or like one of those black cherry Merlot, a black cherry Merlot, black cherry Merlot. I think the T is silent. I'm English. I'm stupid. I can't like speak all these different languages all the time. So kind of like that. It's very syrupy. It's pretty tart. Thick, syrupy, black cherry kind of smell. You can smell the other fruity nuances like the plum. I know. I don't think I have too much interesting to say about it, but I do know performance-wise, some people say it doesn't perform well or the cherry doesn't last. I think the cherry lasts for a long time, many, many hours. You can smell this kind of thick, kind of syrupy, black cherry Merlot, whatever. Is it kind of Girot syrup or something? Girot Merlot syrup, whatever. I forget what it's called. Some kind of drink, a liquor, whatever it is. It's that kind of cherry, and you get nuances of that throughout. Even the very dry down, you can get a little bit of fruitiness, right? There's the plum. I get the cherry for many, many hours. Performance for me, although it wasn't like, blasting off my skin. I know some people say they get bad performance. I didn't have terrible performance when I wore it. Longevity is fine. Maybe it's not blasting off my skin, so that kind of sucks when you think about how much money it is, but not terrible. And once it even dries down, again, the fruity cherryness kind of dies down, that kind of black cherryness. But some people say it kind of smells almost like a cherry pipe tobacco a little bit. I mean, maybe a little bit. It definitely has more of a the tonka bean, vanilla, the woods. It's a more of a generic, not in a bad way, but in a shouldn't even say generic. Maybe more what you might expect when you like think about what is this gonna smell like, right? Um, and not in a bad way at all. I should say it smells more wearable in that I do think the first, and again, the cherry smell to me lasts a long time, but that kind of like black cherry lasts for so many hours. I think it smells kind of novelty-ish, which depending on how you think about it, you're like, oh God, maybe you're some rich dude or rich girl, and you're like, man, when you're paying this much money for fragrances, if something is potentially a little bit novelty or has a little bit extra, well, any kind of unique factor, right? I think it maybe like makes it a little bit more interesting to buy potentially, but maybe wearability. I don't think it's like unwearable, but it does smell kind of novelty to me, I think. And once you get to the dry down, it smells more, not that it's unwearable before, but it smells more common or wearable. I'm not sure if you get what I'm trying to say. I don't know if I have the most interesting way to describe it, but I think it smells good. I like cherry kind of smell, so I'm kind of biased. I mean, I'm thinking about maybe getting a decant, even though it's not exactly the kind of cherry I personally lean towards. You know what I mean? I'm more of a cherry starburst. I'm more of a cherry starburst kind of guy, that kind of cherry smell. Or other fragrances have other kind of cherry smells that I enjoy more. Say that House of Soul is number one, the cherry in that. Um, but it is a cherry smell I still like. I still like this kind of cherry smell. This is just kind of a novelty cherry smell. It's not a bad kind of cherry, like one of those, sometimes the cherry, it smells like a fucking cherry gummy or some crap like that. Like, not into that. This is kind of a novelty black cherry, but I'm okay with it, right? And the dry down is fine. Anyway, I think it's fine. A lot of money for what it is, but anyway. Just keeping my channel active fragrance wise. I wish I had something more interesting to say about that. I still really enjoy fragrances, but a lot of times you smell fragrances, it's like, it's whatever. Lots of fragrances just smell okay, right? You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, it's a lot of money to sample stuff all the time, and a lot of stuff is just kind of like, it's whatever. You know what I mean, dude? So anyway, keeping my channel active fragrance wise. I'm late to the party with these two, but just got other things on my mind. The end.